the world, the bubble in which I'm living, but I'm seeing a lot more wide receivers getting mocked to the Eagles. Is that based on any real information? You call it, there's people who don't know, who guess, and then there's people who get NFL information and build mock drafts around that. These seem to me like people that maybe aren't in the know mocking receivers to the Eagles, but anything you're hearing as we inch closer to the NFL draft here, John, and where the Eagles might go here in round one?
Well, I don't know who you're speaking of in the mock draft realm, but you could kind of, judge by the names, I guess. But
just for example, reading Bleeding Green Nation this morning, where Brandon Lee Gowton writes for NFL.com, Kyle Lemon had him at 23.
I think what it is the presumption again around the NFL that AJ's not going to be here. So the presumption of a lot of people is, well, AJ's not going to be here, so they need a receiver. That's all it is.
Right.
Nothing more than that. And remember, June 1st, draft night, August even. Doesn't matter if you're operating with the intent of, well, we know he's not going to be here. You're more likely to draft a wide receiver. That's all it is. And look, I think they're going to draft a wide receiver in the first 2 days. I'm not leaning that way in the first round still, but that's part of my own personal bias in that I don't love the first round guys, to be honest. Not that I just don't think they're that different from the second round guys.
Yeah, and I'm kind of with you on that after diving deeper into it. It doesn't, I'm with you.
And there's a lot of good players, and they're all good players. I'm not trying to, but the point is, the guys who are, with the exception of Carnell Tate for me, the guys in the first round don't distance themselves from the guys in the second round. So I think the value is there more in the second round. That's just my personal opinion. And as we get closer, I'll check in with some people I know down there, and I tend to get at least a little bit of a hint, which it'll become clear, and that'll, when I do my one and only mock draft, it'll become much clearer. But yeah, that's my perception on the wide receiver. As far as why everybody's shifting in that direction, I think a lot of people there's this weird dichotomy of people that sort of like the Eagles and don't want to believe AJ's gone. And the reality may be catching up to those people, but that's just speculation.
Yeah, it seems like speculation, but it does seem like that even if you turn a blind eye and you think AJ's going to be here, I mean, it does seem like this is obviously heading in a certain direction. We'll see where it ends up, Johnny Mac. A fresh new week here on Birds 365. You mentioned we got Jeff Kerr, so we'll get Jeff Kerr on in a little bit. Very exciting, John. Jeff Kerr is now writing. We'll obviously talk to him about this as well, but he is going to do some writing for Sports Illustrated, right, alongside you for the Eagles.
Yeah. He's actually publishing the site. So Jeff is technically my boss. It's sort of like you're my boss. I'm the talent. I'm just specifically talent. And I use that self-deprecating. So,
well, is that a good thing for you that you don't have to manage the publishing part? Because I understand that part can sometimes be very
I want no part
that's
of
what I mean. Now you can focus on writing, and then it gets posted and handled from there.
Yeah. Well, I have to post it, but and that I mean, legitimately, you got to jump through the hoops and have meetings with sport and all that bullshit.
Yeah, right.
Which I want no part of. So Godspeed to Jeff, and hopefully it goes well for him. But no, big step for him. So I'm happy for him. Doesn't change my role, at least projected. You never know in this industry, but
that's the truth, Jim. Yep.
It doesn't change my role, as at least I'm told. So we'll see how it works out, as with everything in life. But so you have us both, best of both worlds, and hopefully Ed will be involved as well. I'm not sure, and they're still working on that. But happy for Jeff. happy for me that my role is going to change. So
Johnny
there you go.
Yeah, you're a classic, Johnny Mac. All right. So we're going to talk to Jeff. Looking forward to doing that. We'll see what he has to think. We'll see what he thinks of. John, you mentioned it last week. Was a total soap opera. It really was a soap opera. I mean, you had one article after another. You had the Jeff McClain article. Me and you never talked about the Jeff McClain article because that came out, I think, on Thursday. And I obviously didn't do the show on Friday. Apparently, everybody learned that my name is Alexander James, and they've had
I was like, I never put that. That's bizarre. I never put 2 and 2 together.
That's amazing to me that you didn't.
I mean, it's not like I pondered it, I just it made so much sense after I heard it, and I'm like, wow, what the hell? Why didn't I put that together? Because I'm older, obviously, so when I see more unique names, I just think, well, younger people get more unique names,
right.
And I don't think about it. So, that's basically all it came down to. But
I like my full name. I had no problem with
and then Krause just started the show with it. I'm like, what? Whoa! Just threw me. It was a curveball. Threw me.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. That's pretty funny. Yeah, well, he was the one who said he's not going to be Alex. He's going to be Xander. That was my dad. My dad was the one who did not want me to be an Alex. He wanted me to be
there we go. See? Yeah. So it is, we wanted more uniqueness. So, it works. But I just said, does he call you Alexander when he's mad at you?
Yeah, my dad, we don't fight like that anymore. I don't know. My dad, I didn't grow up really with, I got to be, my dad does the stern, he disciplined, but we had a great relationship, me and my dad, my whole life. So no, I don't know. I don't really view it like that. Did he say that when he was mad at me? I don't think so. I think he maybe said it when he loved me. Yeah, I love you, Alexander. Maybe something like that, John.
All right, there we go. So you learn something new every day.
There you go. All right, good stuff. All right, guys, as we inch closer here to the NFL draft, I'm still in the camp, John, of offensive tackle. Now, I want to give everybody a quick recap of what's kind of going on just from a team building standpoint this offseason. Obviously, the key departures, everybody. Jaelan Phillips, Reed Blankenship, Nicoby Dean, Sidney Brown, and Jahan Dotson. Those are your 5 big departures for the Philadelphia Eagles. Jaelan Phillips lands in Carolina with the Panthers. Reed Blankenship lands in Houston with the Texans. Nicoby Dean goes to Vegas with the Raiders. Sidney Brown gets traded over to the Atlanta Falcons. And Jahan Dotson signed with the Atlanta Falcons as well. So 2 former Eagles now with the Atlanta Falcons. And then coming in, I guess Jordan Davis isn't coming in. Neither is Dallas Goedert. But those are new deals that were done. Tariq Woolen coming in. Marquise Brown coming in. Andy Dalton. Arnold Ebiketie. Braden Mann signed an extension, so that's not a new addition, but an extended there. And then Johnny Munt, Marcus Epps, and Elijah Moore. So that's kind of your offseason roster building look right now, John. And I don't think it looks as bad on paper as I guess it did when it happened in free agency and you're losing Phillips and Reed and Nicoby. You're like, holy crap, this defense is getting purged. Now that you look at it on paper, I don't think it looks too bad. But they definitely do have to recoup that defense, John. It's the second straight year of pretty big departures on the defense. So I know we've talked a lot about they need to kind of retool the offense, but I think the defense needs some work as well, too. And I'm sure Howie will get that done. Probably edge rusher. I just don't know where it's going to come,
Well, throw in Joe Tryon, Chandler Martin as the 2 most recent sort of Tamu-ish signings. But, I try to warn people in the heat of the moment when you lose a Jaelan Phillips. Oh, you got worse today. Well, worse today on March 11th is not really relevant because you have all the stages to go through. And that's the one position where you look at, all right, they need to do something. Safety as well. And Howie admitted they're going to add probably multiple bodies at safety still.
Yeah. He was pretty open about that, wasn't he?
Yeah. So I mean that's the whole point. It's not a finished product, and the larger perspective of the building is built around what's coming, which I know frustrates people because you want that immediate gratification. And but if you do that, think about it in your own life. If you want whatever, some kind of luxury item, and then, hey, you got a balloon mortgage payment and you can't afford it because you bought the luxury item that isn't all that relevant, and all of a sudden you lose one of the big time players you don't want to lose.
Right.
So, it's still coming. Jalen Carter's still coming. Jordan Davis got done. You saw what that cost. That was more than we all thought.
Yeah.
Way more. Quignon's going to set the market. I'm convinced of that, unless something horrible happens, which you can't project. But it doesn't look. I mean, he looks rock solid. Cooper DeJean's going to be set the market for nickel corners. I can tell you that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And on and on you go with what if Alex Hunt breaks through this year?
Yeah.
I think a lot of people have forgotten about Nolan Smith, but the same thing can happen with Nolan Smith. So all these dominoes are still set to fall, and they're going to be top of the market deals. And that's the reason why you have this demarcation line where you have to make those tough decisions. You want to keep them all. They wanted to keep Mel Williams. They wanted to keep Jaelan Phillips. They wanted, they understood they couldn't keep Nicoby Dean. They understood they couldn't keep Blankenship, which is the one I kind of say, maybe there should have been adjustment there because it was a little bit cheaper than everybody thought it was going to be. At least
and Howie almost admitted to that as well. I mean, which was kind of surprising to hear.
Yeah. They thought he was going to be an 8-figure player, 10, 11, $12 million. And he ended up getting 8.25. But
how do you read that? Does that read to you like the agent never even came back to Howie to tell him what the Texans deal was?
No, I'm sure
they just didn't factor it. So then when they had the opportunity to potentially match or beat it, they weren't ready to do it.
Well, it's about they had a plan. So, there's multiple balls in the air. So if you take one ball out of the air and say, oh, I thought this, and then maybe you have another ball in the air and it disrupts that ball. That's kind of what happened with Blankenship. So, at some point after the process, I tend to get the names of who they were interested in and all that. And there's probably going to be a name that surprises you that was pretty expensive that they didn't get. And if you pull that ball, maybe it was still on the table, and you pull that ball of Blankenship, and that's not what you wanted. So sometimes